Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Boardmasters with me, Chris Mullins, and today I will be unboxing Crypt of Chaos by Crystal Dagger Games. Now I will say up front that I'm not being paid for this video, but the people at Crystal Dagger Games did reach out to me asking if I'd like to cover the game, and they did send me a free copy for that. So, you know, if you feel that's prejudicing my opinions or making me biased in any way, well, I guess there's nothing I can say to assuage that. I'm not going to deny that I'm hugely excited at being given the opportunity to do that this early in the run, but I'll certainly still try to be as objective and fair as I possibly can. Now, first impressions right out of the gate is, well, in terms of the artwork, I'm a big fan of Tolkien stuff and high fantasy. I've said that before on the channel, and this ticks those boxes, but the artwork is fairly generic. It could be any game with a fantasy setting, really. It doesn't really stand out. It's not bad in any way, not at all. I actually quite like the pictures of the characters. It just doesn't do anything to differentiate itself, which is a shame. I like how it's got a good spread of male and female characters, as well as orcs and elves. Again, although I really appreciate the fact that the warrior character is a woman, because that seems to be the sort of role that is generally associated with male characters. And again, this isn't a criticism of this game specifically, but fantasy games in general. I do really like it when they do something a bit different. Like the Archmage is always an old Gandalf style, an old guy with a long grey beard, and that's the same in this. Whereas I just wish they would do something a bit more out of the box with these sort of archetypes, as it were. But that being said, I'm going to dive straight in, and it does look like the sort of game I would like, because I've literally just backed Tiny Epic Dungeons to provide the exact sort of experience that this game is supposed to give, and that it's a dungeon crawler in a small box, and you know, everything you need is in the box, as it says. You don't even need dice or pen or paper or anything. It's a 1 or 2 player game with solo mode or co-op. I'll be interested to see how it scales on different characters, because the how to play on the website just sort of covers the solo game, so I don't know if it's any different, which makes me wonder if it's just incredibly difficult on solo or far too easy in co-op. It'll be interesting. I'm very, very intrigued to see how that scales. Okay, so in the 2-player co-op rules, it's not possible for both champions to attack the same monster simultaneously. There is only 1 pickaxe and 1 pair of boots, so alternative routes through may need to be discovered. Okay, so there are a couple of rules there just to make it a bit harder, so you can just gang up on the same enemy. That's a cool, nice little rule book. That's really well laid out and really clear, so I like the look of that. And here we have the characters. Let's see if I can get into this. So there are 6 characters in the game, and so we got Vixenblade the warrior, Wolfhowl the barbarian, Archmagana the mage, Beowblood the orc. I really like the artwork on the orc. Cryanthea the dark elf, and Avenelith the forest elf. Again, I think the artwork actually is a lot better on the cards than it looks on the box. It is really good quality there, but it is a little bit generic, I'm not going to lie. And then we've got a bit of flavour text for them, and their stats, so their health, attack and defence, and their abilities. Okay, so she's the Avenelith the forest elf, is able to dominate more powerful creatures. Cryanthea the dark elf casts a spell of awareness, so she suffers less damage from traps. Beowblood, all-consuming hatred of goblins induces a powerful rage, so his attack score is increased by 3 when fighting goblins. The mage is taking no chances and is wearing his magical robe of rock troll invisibility. He may pass rock trolls. Wolfhowl strides into the crypt unarmoured, unafraid, and with no abilities. He says that he distrusts magic and that his strength is all he needs to win. Okay, so the barbarian is crazy mode. Certainly harder, but I suppose he does get an extra attack point and more health than everyone else as well. I'm surprised that the orc actually has less health than many characters, which is interesting. On, as I said about the standard archetypes, you would expect the orc to be the healthiest and strongest. And Vixen Blade, the warrior, holds no fear of crypt crawlers. She is able to kill them instantly. So 6 characters, all with varying abilities, so that adds some replayability to the game, which is cool, and different strategies. And let's have a look. So we've got our little markers here. Yeah, nothing special, but they are pretty cool. Again, I'm gonna put the link to the web page for Crypt of Chaos down below if you want to check it out. The game is a fairly cheap price point. You can get it for under £20 plus shipping if you need to pay that. Although they do have something on their website where you can join a club of Crypt of Chaos, and then if you're a UK buyer, you don't pay shipping. Or you can. They have links on their website to, I think, Amazon and eBay, and I think Chaos Cards website is selling this game as well now. So there's plenty of ways to get hold of that. Let's look at these tokens. So your health and monster, the dragon, who is the end boss of the dungeon. You have to defeat him to get out. So we've got some goblins, who obviously the orc hates. Spider, we've got some loot to find. Monster health. Yeah, fire wraith doesn't look particularly friendly. A few more goblin guard. Key of freedom. I think the key of freedom and the lost sword are the 2 things you need to find before you attack the dragon in order to escape. The axe of picking. So I think it mentioned in the rules there about the 2-player that the axe of picking, and there's another item which is specifically about negotiating obstacles in the dungeon. Potions and helmets. So lots of different loot and rock trolls. And I like the art on these. The armor of awesomeness. Helmet effect. Boots of bounding. You may leap over holes in the floor. There's a good sense of humour within the game that I probably wouldn't have expected going on the outside. Rooms of down. Oh, we've got some traps. We don't want traps. And more traps. Amulet of awareness. So again, that's, I think, was it Cryanthea that takes less damage from traps, and if she finds the amulet of awareness, she takes no damage at all. Just always check under the insert, because I have had that find any. So again, to have a full dungeon crawler in this little box is something I definitely wanted. As I said, this is why I backed Tiny Epic Dungeons. Okay, so then we've got all the modular decks, so we'll have a quick look. So these sort of tile cards are how you build your dungeon, so it has to go arrow to arrow, and then it tells you if it has an enemy and or a chest and what type of chest. We've got and it's split into different levels, so we've got dungeon decks 1, 2 and 3, which obviously is going to differentiate the ability, and it's going to get harder to negotiate through it as you progress. And then we've got the attack decks, which is really interesting because obviously if you've seen any of my footage, you know I grew up on like fighting fantasy books, and so I'm used to these sort of things having dice-based combat, whereas with this one there is no dice. Your attack is based through your attack strength and whether you have any items that boost that, as well as what you draw from these decks, and then the monsters fight back using their own attack deck. And that's the first card. So again, you can sort of see I have the arrows to link them up. So the dungeon's going to be different every time you play. So not only have you got a good variety of characters with different skills, your dungeon's always going to be different. And yeah, that all looks pretty cool. That all looks good. Let's have a quick look at these attack ones. So you can see you get +2s, +1s, and you even get a +3 and a miss. So combat is always going to have an element of luck to it. Obviously it's going to be mitigated based on your character's skills and what gear you have. And then whenever you attack a creature, they automatically respond. And yep, so they've got the same makeup. So there's going to be an element of randomness to the combat, which some people may not like, but you would have that with a dice roll anyway. So I really appreciate the effort they've gone to do something different there. And again, I haven't really looked through the tokens, but they may have some sort of deck manipulation or something in there. At first glance, I can't see anything like that, but it may well be there. And we'll have a look at that in the playthrough videos. But that is everything that comes in Crypt of Chaos. And, you know, as I said at the beginning, I was a bit ambivalent on the first impressions because the initial artwork is a bit generic. But it does bring the gameplay that I'm quite excited about, having back Tiny Epic Dungeons and loving fighting fantasy books. This is basically like a fighting fantasy book, just in board game form. And yeah, it's a completely self-contained game. No dice, no pen and paper, as they said on the box. And it'll be interesting to see how much impact these have and how it all transpires in the gameplay, which I am hoping to have my solo gameplay video up next Tuesday. I'm definitely going to play this a lot over the next week, I think, so that I can be well informed for when I do a review a couple of weeks later. And I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you like the look of the game. As I said, the link to their website is down below, and it's got a good price point if you want to give it a go. And it looks like it is going to be fun and something that can tide you over until Tiny Epic Dungeons hits. So thank you for watching that. I hope you enjoyed it, and look after yourself, stay safe, and have a good one. Thank you. Bye bye now.